I bet Tom Cruise was like, I'm on my way home. I want to stop in Kentucky. We're filming here.
Exactly. Get some indies, bro.
Oh, man.
You know he came back for the indies.
They're off in the Kentucky Derby.
Interest of the greater good for me to smoke a joint and calm down.
I am the greatest. He'll fall an eight to prove that I'm great. And if he keeps talking Jack, I'm going to cut it to 5.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Ville Chillin Podcast. This is our first episode after the Derby, which it was a long Derby. We had, 7 days?
7 days, man. And that's not counting the extra episodes we did, like, a couple months ago, like, just in preparation.
Yeah, so we're derbied out. I mean, my horse won. It was amazing.
Don't lie.
Dude, he won. Dude, I won a lot of money. I didn't
He
bet,
won
but,
in
like,
your heart. It's okay. We understand.
Well, with the the glitz and the glam of the Derby, it kind of made us start thinking how there's been a lot of Hollywood movies and movies in general that have been high production videos, cinematics that have been filmed here. It has a lot to do with, I think, everything from like the history and the architecture all the way to just the landscape. A lot of that has to go into. So we kind of thought that we could kind of dive into that and look at some of the bigger films that have been filmed here, and also some of the smaller ones.
Yeah, which there's actually quite a few. There's more than I expected. Wikipedia has it listed at 68, which I think we checked, and it's the same as listed in IMDb. So it's
Like, that's cross-referenced, and so we know it's got to be, like, they can't both be lying.
right,
Like,
exactly, man. But, I mean, some of these movies are movies that you wouldn't even expect, like movies we grew up knowing about, hearing about, that you just never knew that parts of it were filmed here.
there's a movie called Indiana, made in Kentucky.
That's true. That's true. Oh, man. I think the most popular one, though, that people probably know is here is Elizabethtown.
E.T.? Dude's got Kirsten Dunst.
Phone home.
Right. You probably ain't got no service. You gotta have like Bluegrass Cellular out there, though, for real.
And they just phone into Louisville. So, yeah, Elizabethtown, definitely a pretty popular one. From 2005, romantic tragic comedy, starring Orlando Bloom, Kirsten Dunst, Alec Baldwin. Ugh, he's in some hot water right now. But, yeah, typical, like, quote-unquote tragic comedy. But what's really fascinating about it, at least to me while reading up, is that Ashton Kutcher, Sean William Scott, Colin Hanks, Chris Evans, and James Franco all auditioned for Orlando Bloom's part. That's a lot of names, like a lot of big names we know from that time period.
Yeah, that's like both the dudes from Dude, Where's My Car?
Exactly. Both of them plus Chris Evans and James Franco. And Kutcher was actually hired to play the part first, but the director didn't think that the chemistry between him and Kirsten Dunst was really good enough. So he backed out and they ended up with Orlando Bloom. Pretty interesting fact about it, I think. But there's several scenes shot in Kentucky, notably in Louisville. You had the Brown Hotel and the Ballroom, Highland Middle School, Cave Hill Cemetery. And then there was footage of Bloom's character driving to E-Town while driving like in the wrong direction, like away from E-Town. But he's also pictured going through the Cherokee Park Tunnel on I-64, even though E-Town is on I-65, about 40 miles in the other direction. So there's also scenes in Versailles, Kentucky, and just various places around E-Town and the rest of Kentucky. It's kind of in Louisville surrounding areas, Meade County near Brandenburg. Pretty cool.
Definitely, it seems like that was a major like milestone when it comes to like cinematography here too. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it'd been a while since I think it was pretty much the 80s 80s, early 90s when there was like major films here, I think, and we'll go into those a little bit later, but that was the most recent one where Louisville felt like a buzz with, like movies and stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's what's really interesting about it, especially to me going through this list, is there's movies like from the 50s all the way up to recent, 2000s, 2010s.
Yeah, like the golden era, man, like the ones like that they said like really transformed cinema, like the ones that really had an impact. So like that's just really weird to think of. I don't think of Louisville, or Kentucky or whatever as far as groundbreaking, in cinema, but I guess it is.
I mean, that's exactly why this episode is called Hollers to Hollywood. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And, speaking of the golden era, Goldfinger,
Hey.
007 Classic.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't either. 007 Classic had some iconic scenes filmed here, including the overhead picture or, show of the Fort Knox vault, basically, or not the vault itself, but the storage building or whatever, because that's the premise of the movie, is that the bad guys, if you will, are planning on raiding the Fort Knox gold bullion, the U.S. gold bullion.
I just assumed it was a replica or something. You know what I'm saying? I think that's like, why go to Kentucky when they could have just whatever, but just
and then
from where they're from.
Where Bond is taken to the horse farm or whatever by Pussy Galore, that's a stud farm near Lexington. So
nice.
It's pretty crazy. There's actually several parts of the film filmed in Kentucky, I think. Pretty interesting that a movie that big is filmed here, and again, from like a long time ago, at least, compared to today, it was 1964. So, and a foreign film at that.
That's what I was going to say, like production-wise.
In London.
London, okay, so production from there, so
yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, they were like, we got to go to Kentucky to kind of film this, and like you said, the whole plot of the movie, like, yeah, again, they could have just done it there. I mean, Ireland, not Ireland, but
Ireland could probably pass. It's got some rolling green hills between Ireland and Scotland.
Or Germany, even, like I just talked to somebody from Germany, and they said that it kind of reminds them of home being here. So definitely landscape, but you would think that they were just like, hey, we'll just do it here, but yeah, and then just pretend, act.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. And there's tons of other films on the list that that we're going to get into. But yeah, I mean, there's 68 of them, and we were kind of joking, kind of not talking about it earlier. It'd be cool to kind of watch through this list of films and then kind of talk about them later, if we can spot familiar architecture or familiar areas, So if you're looking for films shot in Kentucky, this is the place. Again, we already talked about Elizabethtown, but another notable one is Stripes. Classic Bill Murray comedy. Reading the plot, I don't know that I've seen it. If I've seen it, I've seen it once, but just reading the plot made me think of a 10-year earlier version of In the Army Now.
I can see that. I can see the reference, definitely.
So, again, it's got Bill Murray and John Candy, two huge names, and then a host of other people.
Well, and one thing you notice, it feels like a lot of these movies, a lot of the movies around here that were filmed in Kentucky, they have a lot of military references, with Fort Knox. And then I guess a lot of horror movies too. I feel like, again, being in the holler, it is, it can be scary sometimes or whatever if you're out further away. So,
well, and we've done shows on it before, but Louisville has its own hauntings. Kentucky has its own series of hauntings, and I mean, Louisville's considered one of the most haunted places on earth. Just because of Waverly Hills. So it makes sense.
And with the films, especially a lot of these films, like we were saying in the 80s, like with this being the 80s, I think with it being the Cold War, people were kind of thinking more along these lines of, Fort Knox and things like that, if somebody was to attack it.
Yeah, definitely. Between that and then the advancements in technology and things like slowly moving to like cyber warfare, the 80s were a big time because like the late 80s is when you started getting movies like War Games and stuff, when the internet was first really being developed, and it was easier to it seems easy now, but it was easier, quote unquote, to hack because the technology just wasn't as advanced to protect everything. So, it's really amazing that a lot of these films have roots here, you know.
Definitely.
But in Stripes, the filming actually started in Kentucky before moving to California, and there were scenes at Fort Knox, Louisville, and there were some scenes shot at, I'm going to mispronounce this, but the Chapeze Distillery, owned by Jim Beam in Claremont.
Trapeze.
That's not Trapeze.
Close.
But yeah, there's definitely some history here with that. Secretariat, of course.
Heyo, Secretariat.
Yeah, I mean, we said we were tired of Derby, or we were kind of derbied out, but you know, you
dude, never ending one, dude. But Secretariat was good.
You can't even remember his name,
man. But you can't forget he won.
You can't remember his name.
Man. I hope, like, you pre-recorded this. He probably lost, but I hedged the bet.
That's
so
why I've been kind of like, I've been choosing my responses carefully because it could go either way. You don't know yet, but God, dude, if you can't even remember his name.
I know Resilience lost, okay? That's all I know.
How can you remember my pick and not yours? Anyways, filming for Secretariat took place on location in Louisville and Lexington and around Lafayette and Karen Crow, Louisiana. I probably butchered that too.
Carol Crow. It's cool, dude. You get it right. It's French.
Okay. Oh, man. Is she related to Russell Crowe?
He's not French.
Anyways. So.
Nobody's going to ever film in Kentucky again.
While part of the film was shot on location in both Louisville and Lexington, for 3 weeks after that, they moved to Louisiana. And for some reason, they decided to reproduce the Triple Crown infields at Evangeline Downs, located in Louisiana. And as a Louisvillian, knowing they were already here, why? Was Churchill Downs going to charge them too much money to do it there?
Well, it might have been whatever was going on across the street.
It
wasn't Derby time. If it was Derby time, everything would have looked nice. They would have been like, maybe we should film here. It was just off season.
That's true.
Oh wait, when they filmed
it was late in the year. So yeah, it was not Derby time.
I mean, if y'all ain't from the Derby area, the Derby don't look like Derby sometimes.
Until you get into Churchill Downs.
Right, there's about 2 months where the Derby looks like Derby. They're like, we don't want that noise. We're going to Georgia.
They went to Louisiana, but close enough.
We'll edit that out.
It's staying. Anyways, another horse racing film that was filmed here, Seabiscuit, in 2003, based on a nonfiction book from 1999, and loosely based on the life and racing career of Seabiscuit, an undersized and overlooked thoroughbred racing horse. So, something interesting about this article, this Wikipedia page, for some reason, they do not mention that it was actually had films or scenes filmed here. So we had to look to IMDb. And apparently the scenes that were filmed here, or there was one filmed at Keeneland Racetrack, and then one in Paris, Kentucky. Or maybe more than one or two scenes, but either way, there were scenes in those two places. I haven't seen the movie, so I couldn't say one way or the other. I also haven't been to Paris, Kentucky.
Okay, so again, like on top of the horror movies and Fort Knox, I guess it's horses.
Horses,
that's Kentucky right now when it comes to.
That is it.
And we're just talking about movies that are actually like filmed here in Kentucky. There's a lot of fictional film, like movies that are fictionally filmed here in Kentucky that I guess we could go into to like
exactly.
Ozark. I ain't gonna give anything away. You know, I don't want to spoiler alert. But
well, and these are movies. We haven't really looked at like TV shows. Could be different.
Maybe it is. Yeah, good
Could
point.
be a very different list. That'll be part 2 to this.
2 times.
But as far as movies, like feature-length films, this is what we came up with. The next one is Rain Man, Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman. You know, with all of the
That was before Scientology. You got him.
before Scientology. What's up, everybody? We just wanted to take a quick pause and say, if you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. Drop us a couple comments. Let us know what you like, what you don't, and let us know what you think about the video. And make sure to share out with your friends and family. It really helps us a lot.
Yeah, we're on every social media platform. We're on every podcast provider out there. So whenever you get a chance, just give us a like, give us a follow. We definitely appreciate it. It really help us out.
And with that, we'll get right back to it.
Yo.
Anyways, parts were filmed in Cincinnati and throughout northern Kentucky, apparently.
Dude, I bet Tom Cruise was like, I'm on my way home. I want to stop in Kentucky. We're filming here.
Exactly. Get some indies, bro.
Oh, man.
You know he came back for the indies. That's Goldfinger. We already talked about that. Another pretty notable film that I found interesting was How the West Was Won. So, country western with plenty of stars, and notably John Wayne.
Ew.
John Wayne. And this...
It's kind of cool, like a movie about the West is filmed in the Midwest. Like, we almost there. We close enough.
At the 36th Academy Awards, it earned 8 nominations, including Best Picture, and it won 3 for Best Story and Screenplay, written directly for the screen, Best Sound, and Best Film Editing.
So it's checking all the boxes. Like, it wasn't like just Best Actors, Best like storytelling and stuff like they on everything.
Yeah, it's really kind of a cult classic as far as westerns and historical films. In 1907, it was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. So, pretty major that parts of it were filmed here. So filming started in May 1961 in Paducah. Pretty amazing movie from 1962. Definitely historically relevant, and it's just cool that it was filmed here. It's amazing to me how much we continue to learn and figure out major things that were done here, from Edison's first public display of the light bulb to historical films. It's really amazing the talent and the people who have been drawn to this great state and this great city.
Exactly, especially like the technology and stuff like that. I wonder how much that goes into it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like science technology kind of goes hand in hand with like creativity and art. You know what I'm saying? So like the fact that the light bulbs here, that means that people can see. Like there's more people that are able to see here at night and have more. Like at night at that time, like have more thoughts. Like be able to explore what they're doing, where other people, they're just kind of, well, I gotta go sleep or something. Mm-hmm. So the fact that happened here longer or whatever probably gave us kind of like a step up to where these kind of films could have been made in the early, in the golden era, if that makes sense, to where versus in the other ones you couldn't create that. And then the same thing with the actual, the technology itself. Once people are here with the film, with the cameras and the stuff to make it, you put that hand in hand, like then that's when you make that, I guess, cinema magic or whatever they're talking about.
Yeah, and I mean, there's tons of that talent here. It really speaks to the nature of Louisville as far as the culture is concerned, as far as film and acting and everything else. I mean, US Marshals had a scene here, which it's a movie that I have fond memories of, and especially the reference to Tommy Lee Jones's famous scene in that about, every residence, warehouse, hen house, outhouse, dog house.
Dude, you felt it.
Yeah. And it's been referenced in plenty of other like law procedural film or Procedural law dramas, I think is what
Almost
they call
like
them.
every Mark Wahlberg movie. Like anytime he's there, or even the Will Ferrell, like whatever. There's always like a scene where they're like, "Hey, we have to figure this out." Like even Men in Black, I think like re-referenced it. It was awesome.
Yeah, but I mean the exact line from the movie.
Like word for word.
Yeah,
like, okay.
I know it's in NCIS and I think a couple others. Like it's just that classic, man. You can't beat it. It's a good movie.
It hits. Yeah.
And I mean, you got Tommy Lee Jones, Wesley Snipes, and Robert Downey Jr. Come on now. With a cast like that, how could you not want to watch it? And it had scenes in Benton, Kentucky.
Benton, like
Pretty awesome.
that's a jam.
And then
How many people live in Benton? I want to see that real quick. To be honest, I've never heard of Benton, Kentucky.
Snitching on yourself now, huh?
Nah, yeah.
Oh, where's it at? There it is. Benton, Kentucky. Population 4,700.
Dude, they probably doubled with that film like that.
And that's very southwestern Kentucky from us. Moving on to the next and last film that we have to feature. Next of Kin. 1989 film starring Patrick Swayze, Liam Neeson, Adam Baldwin, Helen Hunt, Bill Paxton, and Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller being in one of his earliest roles ever.
Dude, late 80s, early 90s. Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton, it seems like they were always doing something. I don't know. Like they always had like a really good chemistry, always did good films, but
Patrick Swayze, dude, Roadhouse.
Like
they just
that was the height,
remade
too.
Roadhouse,
like,
dude.
yeah, like he was at his height then. Like wouldn't you say? Like
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say his height would be Roadhouse, but yeah.
but okay, well, running off his height, whatever. Like, R.I.P.
Hey, Roadhouse was good. They just remade it too on Amazon Prime. Jake Gyllenhaal. Which shout out to Jake Gyllenhaal just as a quick side note because he's actually done professional fighting, and then he got to do the movie. So like he's a fighter.
He actually fought professionally.
Yeah, he's been fighting professionally.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
What's his record?
I don't know.
We'll just say we'll say 3-1. 3-1. He did good, dude. He did good. 3-1.
I mean, now I have to look it up.
Okay, yeah. What's his record? Putting y'all on blast there, Jake.
He won. Looks a second. He's as of March 2023. He had 2 wins in the UFC. It looks like, and that's okay. So, oh no, that's John Jones. What? Are you talking about John Jones? Anyways, it looks like he's won at least 2 as of March 2023, based on this Fox Sports article, because it says he stunned the UFC world for the second time with a brutal knockout win.
But can he take CM Punk?
I'm not even gonna grace that with the response. CM Punk, props for doing it,
Twice?
but stick to WWE. Anyways, back to our main subject at hand here. the
fact of the matter is,
Next of Kin was filmed in Perry County, Kentucky, which is a coal camp of Hardburley. Ever heard of these?
Barley.
Others were done at the MC Napier High School gym in Hazard, Kentucky, and in Letcher County near Carbon Glow. So it sounds like literally most of the movie was filmed here in Kentucky.
And that one's kind of different, like in the other films where it's kind of, they'll just do like 1 or 2 scenes here, and then the rest of them's kind of like phoned in other places. So
right. And I mean, there's tons of movies here that I'm sure are 100% filmed here on this list. Mostly because we know some of them are independent films, so it would make sense that those are mostly filmed here. But it's just really cool that there really is a bridge between the Hollers and Hollywood. You know what I'm saying?
So much so, too. And I mean, these are the films, but even as far as like the celebrities too, which we haven't really, touched more, much onto this episode. But like, if you think of like Tom Cruise, who used to live here, and then Johnny Depp, Hunter S. Thompson, even though he's not, a celebrity as far as like acting. You know, he definitely played a role in other cinematic. You know, what is it? Bill Murray earlier. He played just like Johnny Depp played Hunter S. Thompson. So definitely plays a role in multiple ways. George Clooney, so many actors. Like cinematography, definitely. The Holler, I think, helps help that as far as like inspire. Because with being around nature or whatever, just being around like smaller cities or whatever, there's that community and stuff, and then with that you grow in different ways.
Yeah, and I mean with that though, like it spreads throughout the whole state. There's a healthy culture of theater, acting, cinema, tech, all throughout the state. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
We love our city, and we're gonna stand on the hill that Louisville's the best city in Kentucky forever. But we still give the respect to the rest of the state. Right. You know what I mean? It's really amazing to me how prominent theater and everything is. Even just going back to some of our previous episodes where we intersected the roads between like traditional theater and wrestling. You know what I'm saying? And how that works. And if you want to see theater in Kentucky, just look up your nearest wrestling promotion, because I guarantee you there's one near you. Right?
And when you see that, then it's not surprising that translates to this kind of like cinematography. You know, we locally we have so much talent. And, a lot of these films are, the ones that we mentioned are, and highlighted are like the bigger films, higher production type things, but there's so much going on here locally. It's kind of a shame that these amazing films, it's a shame that with there being so much talent here that there's not more films being recognized like these ones and that are made here.
Well, and when films are made here, it's usually talent coming from other places. Like they send teams out from different places, spending an exorbitant amount of money on travel expenses and everything.
Get a tax break.
When there's so much talent to just film it here using local crews, whether it's local filmers, whether it's local actors, local writers. There's so much here. There's a reason that Louisville especially is such a main stop. But beyond just the talent in Louisville, again, there's talent all over Kentucky. And Kentucky has such beautiful landscape and varied landscape, from the mountains to the hills to the plains. You know what I'm saying? Like when you think Midwest, Kentucky literally exemplifies every possible like terrain and considered to be Midwest.
All 4 seasons.
And in the same week.
Same day, bro.
So it's really awesome. It's awesome to kind of dive into it, and I definitely need to rewatch some of these movies and watch some of these for the first time. I just try to spot Kentucky. It's a game. So I guess with that, I think we've covered pretty much most of what we wanted to say. You got anything to add?
No, we just appreciate, all the support. We appreciate it, especially after the Derby. It seems like we have had a lot of responses, and we really appreciate it. So thank you guys so much. Keep it going.
Yeah, thank you. And I guess with that, we will see you on the next one.
They're off in the Kentucky Derby.
Interest of the greater good for me to smoke a joint and calm down.
I am the greatest. He'll fall an ace to prove that I'm great. And if he keeps talking jive, I'm going to cut it to 5.